Hi YouTube. So this is my third episode about the definition of complexity and emergence. So I'm going to uh, short uh, give a short explanation of what I have said in the previous video, which was that the question about emergence and complexity has become very interesting, or at least important enough to investigate, because there is a 25% increase in the term um, over the last 20 years. Now, you might think, well, it doesn't really matter that much because there are a lot of new terms or existing terms that are probably being used a lot more as well in the last 20 years. That's true, but the thing is, a lot of scientific disciplines use the word complexity or system to define some kind of aspect in their theory. I mean, I'm thinking about biology, which is the most prominent example, but also in engineering when they're talking about a system, or in AI sciences where they're talking about systems as well. So I think that complexity is the term that creates this underlying foundation of which all these ideas are stacked on top of. And people use the word complexity like, it's just another word in your arsenal of uh, your vocal vocabulary arsenal that you have. I mean, I understand that idea, but that doesn't mean that complexity can't end up being more fundamental um, in its meaning than we initially anticipated. I don't know if I'm explaining it the right way, but basically what I'm trying to say is that we should perhaps look at the term complexity and see what happens if we formalize the concept. You know, what happens? Let's just ask this innocent question. What happens when you formalize the concept of complexity? Could it introduce something interesting? Could it do something that would be worth talking about? I say yes. So I'm going to now further read the rest of my introduction. No single academic entity has truly reached a consensus on what the term actually entails, although much effort has already been put into the doctrines of emergentism as described by Jaegwon Kim. I will now include in the video a link with my source about Jaegwon Kim so that everyone who is interested in reading the literature that I'm exploring here together with me. This paper will therefore attempt to find a concrete answer to the question at large, which is, what does complexity mean? But we will quickly discover that when we're looking for a definition of complexity, only vague descriptions are being given, which offers much to the imagination to fill in freely. The definition at hand is namely the following. A system is complex when it is a system with multiple agents dynamically interacting in multiple ways, following the local rules and oblivious to any higher level instructions. I will add a second reference in my video down below. We continue with the search for what complexity truly entails when we attempt to formalize it. In order to do that, we need to find a fitting definition of complexity, but soon after attempting to do just that, we are able to find a troublesome situation. There is no formal, physical, or scientifically rigorous definition of the term. This leads to widespread confusion and complicates the usage of the concept of complexity significantly. We will thus proceed by offering arguments as to why a formal definition of complexity could offer many merits and benefits to scientists and philosophers alike in the form of an attempt to measure consciousness. An exploration of what this definition might look like is therefore offered step by step. We start by exploring the what I call compositionality of complexity. This compositionality simply means that the definition of complexity makes use of three distinct components. It is, in other words, a multi-dimensional concept. We will attempt to prove this idea by showing that complexity exists out of three components or dimensions: information, time, and space. We will therefore name these three components or dimensions to be the compositionality of informationality, temporality, and spatiality. Why these three components are a good starting point to discover what complexity means will be explored as a result. Ideally, we come to a suggestion of a new formula for a more biological natural kind that is panvitalistically inspired. Panvitalism is the occasionalist study. Well, maybe I should now explain what occasionalism means, but I'll do that in a fourth episode. But I will now finish the paragraph that I was starting to read. Ideally, we come to a suggestion of a new formula for a more biological natural kind that is panvitalistically inspired. Panvitalism is the occasionalist study of the spheres of influences of systems, be alive or not, in which spheres of influence is defined as the compositionality of temporality and spatiality as derived from the formula for complexity, that itself being bits per seconds per cubic meters. The possibilities for creative thinking here are boundless when we come to this part of the paper, but we shall have to restrain ourselves well enough before making a serious suggestion as we explore the uses and application of the definition we propose in two specific disciplines to start off, these two disciplines being biology and philosophy of mind. Eventually, we end up with a well-rounded conclusion as to why we need a better, more reliable definition of complexity, emergence, systems, and consciousness, and how the suggested definition will tick off all the necessary boxes that we desire as 21st century biologists and philosophers of mind alike. In other words, we provide evidence that explain why complexity, in a formal sense, could be the underlying principle in uniting all conversation on emergence. Furthermore, I will provide ample evidence as to why adopting this new panvitalistic view of reality could lead to even more discoveries and experimental thoughtways. We end with a set of questions which will be answered in the conclusion of the paper. Every part of the following section will answer all of the 6 questions posted beneath. The 7th question emerges from these other 6 and counts as the conclusion of this paper. The questions are, and I will probably make videos on these, separate ones. Question 1. Why is a formal definition required? Question 2. What is required for a proposition that formally defines complexity? Question 3. What does a formal proposal of complexity look like? Question 4. What are the benefits? What are the components of this formal proposal? Question 4. What are the components of this formal proposal? Question 5. Which are the benefits? Which benefits does this formal proposal offer? Question 6. What kind of theoretical or practical use does the formal proposal offer? And in conclusion, question 4. What does emergence mean in light of this formal proposal? So in the next video, I will be explaining what I mean with panvitalism being the occasionalist study of the spheres of influences of systems, be alive or not. This occasionalist attitude is central to panvitalism, but I will explain in the next video what this means.